All right, jumping into it, researchers and funding. There's myself, Sam Pedrotty. I know we're bringing this to you from the UNM perspective, but I gotta say, I'm actually an Aggie. Shock and surprise. Sorry, I know cats befriending dogs and all that. I graduated with a degree in aerospace engineering in 2014. My UNM connection was really the entire rest of my family. I'm the black sheep here, but the person that I've been doing this with is my brother, Gus, who graduated UNM in 2017 with a bachelor's in chemistry, amongst other degrees. As you can see,
Sam, one second.
Yes?
Your slides aren't changing. It's still on the first slide.
Oh man. Well, then it's probably best if you just go ahead and share them then, I'm afraid.
All right, one second.
Excellent, I see them. All right, so we could, perfect, slide 2. This is the one I was trying to talk to. Thank you for letting me know that it was not coming through. I'm an Aggie, shock and surprise. My brother's a UNM grad. My day job is over at NASA. They are in no way endorsing this effort, presentation, or anything else. My brother's day job is the Santa Fe Institute. And so far, we've done this with self-financing. Next chart, please. So what are we talking about here? A vascular access device. This is some means of getting into your blood vessels. Specifically with this one, the main thought is how do you get a lot of your blood out of your body and then back into your body? And the new way we're looking at this is how do we do this with minimally interfering with and interfacing with the vessel itself? So this is actually developed all around hemodialysis for kidney patients. So on the right-hand side there, you see an image of somebody connected to a hemodialysis machine. And on the left, those graphics are renderings of our device, far larger than it is in real life, as the thing is meant to actually go around a blood vessel. So on the far left, you see the device surrounding a red vessel, and then you see the needle's outline as it goes through the device and accesses the vessel. Next chart, please. So like I mentioned, this is all developed in a response to attempting to improve dialysis patient outcomes, specifically hemodialysis. So this is a very large problem around the world, and especially here in America alone, where more than 550,000 people require chronic hemodialysis to live. Typically, this is done in a dialysis center where they spend about 3 days a week and about 5 to 8 hours each one of those days doing hemodialysis, where their blood is removed from their body one little bit at a time and replaced. And as it's removed, it's then filtered. So on the right, you see a graphic of somebody undergoing hemodialysis. You see the vascular access connected to their arm, similarly to the previous slide, and flowing into that machine on the right. So there are a few methods of doing this type of vascular access that are known as kind of the current state of the art. And these are arteriovenous fistulas and catheters. Grafts are also used, but the kind of standards for this are arteriovenous fistulas and catheters. These are not without their faults. These are very challenging access methods that have very severe negative impacts on the patients themselves. So definitely a big area for improvement. There's been a lot of efforts over the years to try to improve vascular access, but these methods have more or less all fundamentally struggled with the complexity of the technology that they were attempting to use and with patency, with the ability to maintain that access without interference. So even after decades of attempted development, we're still left with these relatively old methods, the arteriovenous fistula and the catheter. Next slide, please. So the things that you can use this thing for, again, it's for vascular access, and the immediate goal here, the thing for which it was developed, is hemodialysis. However, it just provides vascular access. So you can use it for other applications that require vascular access. Things like chemotherapy, where typically ports are used which is an implantable method of vascular access. But this could be used instead with less impact patients. Another opportunity where this could be used would be in combat medicine, where we, through this device, are attempting to provide a really robust method of access, which could be significantly advantageous in frontline medical situations. So with this, the goal with this, the thought behind the design, and with some promising preliminary data, we hope that we will eventually get to completely demonstrate that this will provide easier, less painful cannulation. That means, it's easier to stick yourself. And this allows more hemodialysis patients to self-cannulate. So that will enable more home dialysis, which is far less intrusive on the lives of these folks. Again, like I mentioned, this is meant to provide a robust access point. So this can help enable portable dialysis technologies. There are a number in the works where you saw that machine on the prior chart. It was maybe about half of the size of a refrigerator. There are attempts to miniaturize those machines and make them so that you could even keep them in a backpack so you could go about your day. But the issue there still comes down to, how do you wander around with these things connected to your circulatory system when if you bump into somebody or something hits that connection point? That's a serious issue. You're transferring a lot of blood at a high flow rate. So if something happens to the connection, it can be catastrophic. And these kind of incidents even happen in the in-center settings, the in-center hemodialysis clinics. So not only can we try to address that issue, but by making it so robust that it can be used kind of out and about in the world, we can enable portable dialysis, which is a big deal. We're hoping that this also reduces damage to vessels. Some of those existing methods that we mentioned, sometimes because of various reasons, the vessels will become so damaged over many years of use that the access will need to be completely reworked or replaced. So we're hoping to mitigate that with this. With those previous methods as well, with some of them, like the arteriovenous fistula, you need to wait, in some cases, many months in order for that access to actually be matured and stabilized inside your body, whereas this allows immediate use. The goal here, again, is also to create something that's completely reversible and very easy to do. So the device is meant to be implanted and then potentially easy to remove at a later date. So we've designed around that. And with this philosophy of trying to keep the design and the device as external to the vessels themselves as possible, minimize complications related to patency. Next slide, please. So for need and market potential, like I mentioned, there are more than 550,000 Americans that are depending on hemodialysis to survive, and all of those undergoing hemodialysis requires vascular access. Improving vascular access makes hemodialysis far less traumatic, both physiologically and psychologically, reduces the cost, and greatly improves patient quality of life, which is really why we're doing this in the first place. Just looking at this, I really never seen this field before and understood the implications of end-stage renal disease. My brother and I basically stumbled into it, and we were just stunned by how almost barbaric the current standard of treatment is. And we just thought, surely there would be some way to improve this. With regard to the current market, when you look at the total cost with vascular access today, so that's the surgery to create it, that's the surgery to maintain it, and deal with related complications, it's estimated that more than $1 billion is spent annually in this country. Next slide, please. So for data and results, we have that nice little rendering back there, but we've actually turned this into a physical device, and then at the end of 2019, executed an exploratory animal study where we were able to demonstrate the basic principles kind of from start to finish of the device, including manufacturing, sterilization, implantation, and operation. So we're able to get this thing rapidly and relatively affordably fabricated. We're able to demonstrate that we can easily and cheaply sterilize it. We believe it's also compatible with just about any other sterilization method out there, but some of the easiest and cheapest also work just fine. We're able to easily and quickly implant this device and do so with a relatively inexperienced surgeon. So we didn't have to do many hours or days of training to demonstrate how to implant this device. And same with operation. It's very simple to operate. So it required almost no training to show the technician and the surgeon how to operate the device, how to draw blood out of it. And then getting back to the sterilization thing, throughout the trial, we saw very normal lymphocyte counts when we were doing relative bloods, or where we were doing our kind of standard blood screening throughout the trial. And that demonstrates that, again, that sterilization method was successful and the surgery was successful. So the body wasn't responding to any infections. And then from that study, we've actually evolved the design a little bit to improve some of the subdermal performance of the device. Next chart, please. So right now we're planning kind of the next study. That last one was a very preliminary one that would just kind of let us know if we were headed down the right direction or not. And it seems very positive, and that we were. So we're going to continue to plan and hopefully execute some new ones in the very near future here, where we're going to actually make this or demonstrate something far closer to what we'd expect in the dialysis setting, where we hope to eventually get to the point where we're actually transferring blood between two different devices in the body. So hoping to have that started and then that study completed by the end of this year. We're collaborating with UNM in order to support development and these continued trials. And then we are currently going through some conversations with a large renal company about continuing development and a pathway to clinical trials. And that's it. Now I'll take any questions.
Thanks, Sam.
Hey, Sam, this is Mike. So the thing that I see missing in this presentation is data that you might have compiled through an intensive customer discovery process that said, we talked to 15 renal clinics. I'm making that up. Here's the volume they produce. Every single one of them had this problem and would be interested in deploying it if it were available, kind of at this cost. So that may be something to either do that work, or if you've already done it, it definitely belongs in this presentation, in my view.
You're absolutely right. My brother right now is just laughing on mute because it's just what he said earlier today. And yes, we have indeed conducted market research directly reaching out to patients. This isn't necessarily something that we work with the clinics on themselves, but the current dialysis market is effectively a duopoly in this country. And we are engaging with a very large entity about that, and they're very interested in getting this technology into their main line for treatment and exploring it further. So we've definitely done that, and you're right, I definitely did not have that in the pitch. Okay.
And then maybe the other suggestion would be, in most med tech pitches that I see, there might be one slide on a scientific advisory board, whatever you might call that, some notable people in the field that are helping you shape the thinking around the product and the go-to-market, pricing, all that other kinds of things. So just the thought is, over time, hopefully recruit some notable people in the field to be formal advisors to the company.
Definitely. Again, you are right, Mike. And again, my brother is laughing on mute, having noted that himself. We both have day jobs that we really enjoy, so we're not at this point here looking to create a company surrounding this that we would then maintain for a long period of time. The goal is to develop a device and to immediately get improved patient outcomes as quickly as possible. So we understand in order to do that, the fastest way is probably not to create a company, but to directly work with these large players in the renal field. And we are, of course, consulting nephrologists and interventional radiologists, vascular nurses, and other folks. But with our day jobs and everything else, we didn't take the time to go ahead and get their consent to have their names listed in a presentation like this. But make no mistake, we are most certainly consulting with the experts.
Hey, this is Joey. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about what the regulatory path would look like for this device.
Definitely. So for regulatory path, at first we'd have to demonstrate some significant milestones through animal testing, and then based off of that, we would try to probably pursue I think it's a 510K through the FDA. And then from there, we would continue to move towards a more formal sort of certification for long-term. And with that, we'd actually leverage this large renal partner as they have significant experience getting to clinical trials and then through 510K certification and onward. And also through this UNM collaboration, there have been some preliminary talks about potential to move into clinical trials as well. So thankfully, our partners are managing a lot of those next steps.
Hey, Sam, this is Mike again. A thought would be working with the UNM Rainforest team on really thinking through the commercialization strategy. I guess what you're describing as a go-to-market seems a bit uncommon to me. I mean, typically you'd see, an entity being formed, to house the technology that could partner with, corporate strategics in this case. Because otherwise, if you kind of just take this technology out to market and it's commercialized within a larger company context, I guess I really wonder, how you and your brother frankly benefit from this, versus if there's a company and then either the IP is licensed to partners or you sell the assets at some point. It seems like that's a more logical, well, not logical, more typical, that's the right word I was looking for, pathway to market. So just the thought is, I think you could get some great advice from the Rainforest team on this commercialization strategy at a high level.
It certainly is. I would frankly call it logical and common. I think you're right on both counts. And yeah, we're frankly not really looking to benefit monetarily from this. We're altruistic and/or stupid. So that's kind of the notional idea here. The goal is, again, focused around patient outcomes. And while we could certainly create an entity and attempt to try to do it more traditionally and shop it around, frankly, I think our biggest concern is that this is such a tightly controlled market. Again, it's a almost complete duopoly that I don't think we could get any market penetration unless we just immediately, hitch our cart to one of these major players.
Yeah, it still doesn't change my thinking and recommendation. It probably reinforces it if there's a duopoly. It probably says, if you could get either one of those players to move, this could be, really valuable technology for them and could be valuable from your perspective. Even though I understand you have altruistic goals here, I guess I'd really get you to think that through and work with some experts on that topic.
Definitely, more conversations certainly would not hurt. Yeah, at the end of the day, though, I am a fool who liked the approach of Jonas Salk.
Just don't tell an investor that.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be a short meeting.
Cool. Thanks again, Sam. Appreciate it.